Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm making another video here in this short series about Yakuza 7. I'm doing kind of a multicam, free cam thing where I'm showing the original video along with 3 additional videos of the same scene, but with the camera moving around. This one is for videos, Chapter 2. I had previously done Chapter 1, which I'll make sure is linked. And the way this is gonna work is I'm gonna, like I said, have the original video in the bottom right-hand corner, over there, and then surrounding it 3 other videos, which are the actual multicam shots. And the idea is that you can watch the original to get timing, but watch the other 3 to see what goes on off camera, basically. So, without any further ado, this is the first clip. It is the clip where Ichiban is making chopsticks, putting chopsticks in bags. You can see that while they're doing this, there's a lot of actors that are culled out, and not just actors, but even props. I think it kind of treats them similar. Even something that doesn't move, like the other inmates' boxes, will all get culled out. Interestingly, if you look at the bottom left, you'll see the chopsticks at Ichiban's table get culled out, but other people's don't seem to. Some reoccurring things that you'll notice throughout this are, like I said, actors and items culling. You'll see a lot of focus changes, so sometimes it'll be all blurry because it's focusing on something in the scene. Or you might see focal length or FOV changes that kind of cut things. So that's something that you may see. I don't have control over all of that, so you'll just notice it. One interesting thing for this is the top right video. I managed to pause it at just the right time, where the scene is sort of half unloaded. You'll know when that happens because the lighting changes. Normally it's really bright outside, which I'll discuss later. And a lot of the props change position. So that's just one thing I noticed. Another thing I noticed was that there is a big beam on one of these roofs that kind of just stretches out into infinity. There you go, you can see in the top right there. It stretches from the front of this building all the way out past another building, way far out into the distance, which I have a zoom out of. As we enter this second scene here, them fighting in the closet, just again, the culling is a major thing, including like the box he grabs the wrench out of later, and any prop they touch, which I think is the only one they really touch, so, and the people get culled out at random times. Oh, and the box is behind them for some reason. That must be set decoration that's tied to the scene somehow that it gets culled out. Another thing you'll notice in that top left video, if you watched it, it was kind of blurry and juddery. I think that has to do with motion blur, and I will definitely talk about that a little bit later.
真剣な組だって言ったんだよ。組長も確か昔殺しの荒川とか言われてたけど、今はふぬけちまってるって噂だしな。そんなちんけな組からも切り捨てられてかわいそうなやつだな。殺すぞ。やれるもんならやってみろよ。
This third scene, they are in the jail cell here with Ichiban learning about his extension on his jail time. There is a piece of mystery bread, which you'll see underground. It seems like they store different parts of the bread in different places underground here. We were joking about the advanced bread physics when I was streaming this, and I think that has to do with that. I think they change out a different model when he goes to take that close-up bite, and I think that model is stored underneath. You'll see when I zoom in on his legs, it's kind of just like directly under him. It almost looks like he is releasing it, if you catch my drift. But you can see there's two pieces of bread. One little end piece, I think that gets ripped off, and then the main piece. Another interesting thing about this scene is that it feels like it's a lot bigger than it needs to be. There's a lot of hallway. In fact, it makes almost a giant, like, U-shaped hallway, when I don't think you really see much more than barely outside the door. So, I thought that was very interesting. That always reminds me of RimWorld, this little guitar riff.
だが外で待ってくれている人がいるなら耐えろ。これ以上信じた人を悲しませるな。
Alright, this fourth clip is when he gets the letter from Marakawa. Unfortunately, it is a pre-rendered scene, probably due to the lighting effect. I'll kind of talk a little bit more about pre-rendered scenes later. But you can see in the top left how kind of blurry and nasty it is. That's the motion blur that I was talking about earlier. I think it's forced on for certain night scenes, I'm not sure. But that does tend to happen with night scenes for some reason. I haven't been able to figure it out. In my settings, motion blur is off, and motion blur does mess with this camera, but it's not perfect. So I only showed a little bit, just a little bit of the layout, you know, pausing periodically to see the layout without the blur. Another interesting thing about this is, like I said, it is a pre-rendered clip, but they still load you into the room that they made for the clip. So, like, this room that they initially loaded into was that room that Ichiban was sleeping in with his cellmates. But for some reason, they just made it and left it. It was. I think it's very interesting that they left that scene in there, that room in there, but you don't see it ever live. This fifth clip, it's Ichiban getting his hair cut. What's interesting about this one is the barbershop thing is it's an outfit. So you can see when he leans forward in his chair, it actually moves with him, and the back lump where it like goes over the back of the chair moves around and all that. I thought that was kind of cool, which I guess in theory means you can make a version of Ichiban who has that outfit if you could find the files for it. This is not pre-rendered, so those files have to be in there somewhere. The other thing, you can see Adachi's feet in the bottom of the car. And then the last thing I was thinking of was, if you look in the mirror, the reflection of the mirror, the glass is not transparent, it's just white. So you can't see Adachi in the mirror. I don't know if they're using some kind of special camera trick to make the mirrors show what's inside the room, or if they actually mirrored the room in there and you just can't see it because it culls it. I'm not sure. Alright, the sixth clip here is the, where they are in the graveyard, and he spots Arakawa for the first time after coming out of jail. Surprisingly big scene. You can see all of these gravestones laid out, and in fact, I'll do a little zoom out in a bit with, the whole size of the scene. It makes sense because of some of the angles they choose. You can see a lot of the gravestones, but it was interesting to see that it was just that big.
NG なんや。帰ってんか。違う。俺は荒川組の組員だったんだ。荒川組のもんならわしらが知らんわけないやろ。ずっと無所にいて今日出所してきたんだよ。嘘つくならもっとマシな嘘つけ。おやつさんと話をさせろ。おやつさんだって俺と話をしたいはずなんだ。なんやお前。頭おかしいんとちゃうか。今日は大事な墓参りでわしらも忙しいんじゃ。どっか行けおら。てめえらこそそこどきやがれ。どかねってんなら腕づくで行かしてもらうぜ。新世界の名物串カツだるま衣油ソースにこだわりがある揚げたて熱々口に運んでだるまの串串串カツ大阪名物だるまの串串串カツ僕ニコニコパパニコニコビールに合うだるまの串カツ
This next clip is Ichiban returning to Camarucho after getting out of jail, seeing people using cell phones and vaping. This is another pre-rendered scene, so you can kind of see it kind of sticks you in the middle of nowhere in this half Camarucho sort of setup here. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but they don't really give you enough time to explore it, unfortunately. And since it's pre-rendered, there's no actors moving around to like pause the actors' movement. So the clock is kind of just always running, you can't pause it. But it's a surprisingly weird thing that they do with the pre-rendering, and I think it has to do with smoking, the smoke from the vape and the phone glow and all that, all those glow effects, like light, like God Ray light and all that, and smoke, they seem to pre-render for that. For this scene where they're on the rooftop, again, surprisingly large amount of buildings. You can't quite see all of them, and in fact, a lot of it's hidden by the helicopter and looking up and all that. Some notable things are that Millennium Tower actually has a roof. Even though you can't see the roof of it, they must have grabbed a model that has a roof. And then there's that rooftop hangout that we got to hang out in the last couple of games. We haven't really gotten a chance to explore Camarucho all that much as Ichiban, so I don't know if you can actually get up there, but I just thought it was interesting that it's included. And finally, this last scene where Ichiban got shot, you can see, again, that it's the same thing where it's a pre-rendered video, but they let you explore, you know, they still load you into that room. All that room is still loaded in behind the video. So they're just playing the video on top, which I think is very interesting. Why not make a box so it loads super quick, you know? Instead they've loaded this with all this very high detail food and all that. I think it's pre-rendered mainly or only for the steam on the food. I can't see any other reason why they would do it, except for maybe the reflections, but that they seem to have down pretty well. So, I don't know. I just think it's an interesting choice. The only other reason I could think of them pre-rendering it would be for trailers and stuff like that, but why would you pre-render it for a trailer and then bake it back into the game? That never made any sense to me. Interestingly enough, there's a lot of things that are in the scene, including the full heal, an interesting bottle of wine that has some rudimentary French on it, and a couple other things. So I just thought it was a cool area that you're in, but they paste a pre-rendered video over it. So just interesting stuff.
こんな日にトラブルですかな。
いえ、トラブルではありません。心配なさらず。
おやっさん。
And that's kind of it. Hopefully you enjoyed the second installment here. Definitely have to thank Etra0, who will be linked in the description for his free camera tools for Yakuza 0, Koami, Koami 2, and Like a Dragon. Definitely check them out if you're interested in these games. They're a lot of fun to fool around with. I have to hold myself back sometimes from using them too much. So anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll get the third one out soon.